Little randomness today, guys. I'm installing air conditioning in my garage. Figure I spent enough time out here. Why the heck not? I actually got a piece of cardboard behind the window so we don't get too much backlight so you guys can actually see me. But I'm going to go over some things I'm doing with it. I'm installing a swamp cooler, and if you don't know what that is, I'll also explain that. But one of the things I like to do when you're installing like window AC units, whether it's just a typical one or not, I like to build little frames for it. I think it works out better and everything's more secure. Here you can see I just built a little 2x4 frame and I painted it because it's going to sit here for a long time. And this is where the AC unit will actually fit. But then up here I built what I would call like a mini window. And that's actually a piece of plexiglass, but just because I didn't have real glass sitting around. But I just dadoed out the inside of the 2x4, slid all the glass, slid all that together, screwed it all together. But then I just put some screws into the frame, so even if this is inside a house, and this is a painted wall and everything in nice frames, all I have is, 1, 2, 3, 4 screws actually going into the structure. So if you ever wanted to remove this, even on an inside house where you had a sheetrock inside, you'd only have a couple little screw holes. But this thing is secure, nobody's going to kick it in, and I don't lose my window, and it's 1,000 times better than these accordion things they give you. I could stretch out an accordion thing there, but a thief or anybody else, these things will push in like nothing. Where that's going to take quite a bit of effort to push that in, as opposed to these. And half the times they just got little sticky things on them, so they just stick. So you can just push those in, or thieves can just pull out the whole AC unit. But this allows me to actually mount the AC unit to good 2x4s. Something nice and strong that isn't going anywhere. You'll notice that the window doesn't actually close all the way. Whether it's a top-down window or a side window like this, generally there'll be like a ledge for your finger or something else to that effect. And I will just put that over, and I drilled a little teeny hole, and I'll just put a screw in there to hold that closed. But if you have a bigger gap, you want to make sure that stays closed. And one of the things you can do is actually take, let's take this sign for a second. You can actually take a piece of wood and put it over that so it's over that whole edge. And then I can screw that into the 2x4, and that keeps the window from ever being open. It also kind of gives you a good air seal if you don't have the best, alignment of your stuff. Now, one of the things you'll usually end up with on applications with windows is you can see I can go between the glass right here. There's nothing to actually seal it because the seals are around the edge. So I can just jam a little bit of, like either a rolled pipe insulation or some other sort of insulation in here, since this is going to stay all winter long and everything. So I can just sit all the way along there and seal up that gap, and that'll make the whole thing pretty much airtight. But the window doesn't open now. We're good to go. Put that sign back up in there. You guys like that sign right there? Yeah, it's translucent. I don't know if you can see through it, but that was a fast food sign from a restaurant they were tearing down in Oregon. I was driving the motorhome by, so saw that and thought, hey, that's going in my window. And this being a garage, I also have some extra protection. So if you saw my video on how to protect your garage door from being jimmied open, I get a lot of comments on that well, yeah, they're just going to kick in my window. But I've had this thing on the window forever. And it's just a piece of expanded metal that I welded up a long time ago. And it's just been screwed to the side. So even if you break the window, you're not coming through. So this is my unit. You can see a big fan on the front. So we'll slide this in. Maybe. This isn't necessarily the most typical swamp cooler, evaporative cooler, but it works on the same principle. Much down here you have a pool where all the water sits. So you have a float like you would in a toilet. You have a water line that needs to come in. So water line comes in, fills this up, and maintains a certain level. You have exactly like a toilet again, you have a level thing. So this sits in there. If the water level gets too high, it drains out the bottom. Okay? Then you have a pump. So this pump sits in the bottom and sucks water up from the bottom, pumps it up this hose, up to the top, and into these cooling fins. Well, not necessarily cooling fins, they just soak up water. And sometimes these are made out of wood, sometimes they're made out of like a green material. These ones happen to be made out of something that looks exactly like cardboard. So these just soak up all the water. And this sits over the entire thing and seals it up like so. So all the air that the fan is blowing in is sucked through these, which are constantly being fed water and constantly saturated. And lo and behold, you end up with a 65-degree garage or house. And it does all this cooling, you know, this would cool a 2,000 square foot home with only using 500 watts on high. You know, 500 watts, are you kidding me? Yeah, 500 watts. But the problem is, it only works in dry climates. So, southwestern US is all it's used in. It's used in southern Australia a lot. And that's about it. You know, it's used up across the west coast a little bit in the United States and probably other small little areas where it's dry. But where it works amazing. It'll take a 100-degree day if it's dry enough outside, and it'll turn it into a 65-degree home, you know, for 500 watts. So this is something you could actually, if you live in a dry enough climate, you could actually easily run this off solar, where you can't come even close to that with typical like AC units. But this goes in, typically you'll see these big metal boxes. This is a typical swamp cooler. Just got some pads that soak up water around all four sides. And then we have a pump at the bottom, the same type of pump that pumps water to the middle. Bring it down, we have a squirrel cage fan that now actually blows the air by a motor instead of another fan, a squirrel cage fan. But then we have a float on the other side like a toilet. Here's our float, allows a certain amount of water in here. Here's our max level indicator, so if the water gets too high, it'll actually flow out and overflows down a hose down into your rain gutter. But this is a typical one. See it filling up, then it'll get to a certain level and it'll shut off. Just fill that whole reservoir up, and if it gets too high, it'll actually go out these little holes and then just drain right out the bottom. It's all filled up with water. Now we're just going to hook up this. And what's up in here is just a layer with a bunch of little holes. The water just gets pumped up in there and drips out all the little teeny holes onto all the filter media evenly. So plug this in, this hose, and everything can go up and together. It's the temperature in here, so let's turn it on and see what we can get that temperature down to. So generally these have actually a couple functions. One of them is pump, just a pump. And so a lot of times, you know, you can start pumping the water to make the pads cool before you actually turn on the fan. Otherwise you're just blowing hot air inside. But also just a fan. So I've been using another fan that I've had here to exhaust fumes from random stuff to blow them out of here. So this also doubles as that for me. I might actually be able to use a 3-speed fan that's actually 1,000 times better than what I was using. And it comes with a remote control. So pads are wetting right now, but we can turn on the fan. It's gonna go on to high. Oh, it feels so good. It's blowing out like 50-degree air right now. It feels amazing. "15 minutes later." Well, there we go. I know I'm going to really enjoy a 68-degree, 20 degrees Celsius garage this summer. It's going to make all the difference in the world. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to rate, comment, subscribe. Just kind of a cool thing. Not for everywhere in the U.S. Most people don't even know they exist. Not for everywhere in the world, but it's kind of a cool basic principle that uses virtually no electricity. So it's a perfect setup for if you're going to run something off solar, you know. But thanks for watching, guys. Thumbs up, rate, comment, subscribe. See you soon. Bye. Redneck air conditioning. You just put 500 pounds of ice in the trunk and the car feels amazing. Who would have known? A lot cooler in the back though. Feels great.